Alright, so we're going to say goodbye to the moon now. And we're going to head off to the next planet, the planet Mars. And here we are at Mars, which is called the Red Planet. It has a very red-orange appearance because of the iron in its rocks. It's about a third the size of Earth, about twice the size of the Moon. Now Mars is very cold. It gets down to about 280 degrees below zero, and the hottest it ever gets is about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And Mars is the most Earth-like planet we have in the solar system. It has an atmosphere, it has some weather, and it also has some Earth-like features. So here is Valles Marineris, which is the Grand Canyon on Mars. It's kind of like our Grand Canyon here on Earth, but it spans over 2,000 miles, almost the size of the United States. Now, unlike our Grand Canyon here on Earth, it was not formed from erosion, it was formed by geologic activity. And so here are some closer views of Valles Marineris. Another interesting feature on Mars is it has the largest volcanoes in the solar system. Now, we believe they're dormant now. You can see 4 of them in a chain right here. And they formed in chains just like volcanoes here on Earth. But I'm going to take you over to one very special volcano. So this big one here is called Olympus Mons, named after Mount Olympus here on Earth. And it's the largest mountain in the solar system. It's about 3 times as tall as Mount Everest, and it even has a caldera at the top. So we can see those volcanic craters there. Another feature on Mars that's similar to Earth is seen at its poles. So we're going to take a trip now to the South Pole of Mars. You're going to see something that looks very similar to Earth. And as we fly over the South Pole of Mars, we can see that it has ice caps just like Earth. And most of this ice is actually frozen carbon dioxide, otherwise known as dry ice, but there is some water ice mixed in with that as well. An interesting thing about the ice caps is they actually go through seasonal cycles. So Mars is tilted on its axis just like Earth, and so each of the hemispheres experiences a summer and a winter. So right now it's summer at the southern polar ice cap, which makes it relatively small. Let's go take a look at the northern ice cap and see how it compares. Now the northern ice cap is in shadow right now because it's northern winter. And look how much bigger it is right now. So as Mars goes through its seasons, dry ice evaporates from the warmer pole and transports through Mars's thin atmosphere to the opposite pole, where it freezes back into ice again. And so each ice cap will grow and shrink throughout the seasons. Now, because Mars is the most Earth-like planet in the solar system, it's the most likely place to find alien life, and so we have sent many robotic spacecraft to explore it. We've sent many orbiters, we've sent many landers, And we've also more recently sent rovers. Starting with the Pathfinder rover in 1997, Spirit and Opportunity in 2003, and more recently the Curiosity rover, which is the big one on the right. Now this year we are planning on launching the Perseverance rover, which is supposed to launch sometime in July. And it's almost Curiosity's twin, but it's going to carry something that's never been sent to Mars before. It's going to carry a helicopter drone to the surface of Mars, which is actually going to fly around to different locations. And on Mars, we have found many things similar to Earth. In 1976, the Viking lander saw frost on Mars's surface, a scene very similar to Earth. And the Mars Phoenix spacecraft actually found water ice under its rocket thrusters after it landed. And you can see those white areas under the lander. After it landed, it scooped up some soil, and just inches below the surface, it found water ice. And so as you can see, on one day, it snapped a picture of that ice in the area it scooped. A few days later, it snapped a picture of the same area, and some of that ice had evaporated. And Mars has weather and storms as well. The Spirit rover captured a dust devil on the surface of Mars. This is a real image of a Martian tornado. And a beautiful thing to see on Mars is in its usually pink sky, as the sun sets, the sky turns blue. And here's an image from Curiosity of an actual sunset on the planet Mars. And Mars actually has 2 moons of its own, but they're very different than Earth's moon. Its 2 moons are Phobos and Deimos. We're going to fly to Phobos now and see how it's different than Earth's moon. So here we are at Phobos. As you can see, it's kind of potato-shaped, and it's actually in a very low orbit around Mars. We believe that Phobos and Deimos are captured asteroids from the Asteroid Belt. The first place we're going to go in the Asteroid Belt is the second largest asteroid, Vesta. And here we are at Vesta, the second largest object in the asteroid belt. It was discovered in the early 1800s, and at that time it was thought to be an additional planet in our solar system. And we can see it's not a perfectly spherical shape. It's about 320 miles across, very large. The Dawn spacecraft actually went into orbit around Vesta and mapped its entire surface in high resolution. And so these are images taken by that spacecraft in 2011. However, there's one object larger than Vesta. It's actually a minor planet called Ceres. We're going to fly there now. After leaving Vesta, the Dawn spacecraft went into orbit around Ceres as well, so these images are going to be from the same mission in 2015. And here we are at Ceres. It's a dwarf planet, and it's actually the only dwarf planet inside the orbit of Neptune. It was discovered in 1801, and as you can see, it's large enough to maintain a spherical shape. It's very large, it's about 580 miles in diameter. And so as Dawn was orbiting around Ceres and mapping its surface, it found one very interesting feature. Inside some of these craters, especially this large one, there are these very bright white areas in the base of the crater. And they were trying to figure out for a while what these bright white specks are on the floor of the crater. And what they discovered is they are salt deposits. Now, the most likely explanation for salt deposits in these craters is hydrologic activity. And so what we believe caused this is that in the interior of Ceres, in between its rocky crust and its core, we believe that there is a layer of water ice sandwiched in between. And if any of that ice melted, it could shoot out of the surface of Ceres as a geyser. And afterwards, that might leave behind some salty sediment as we see in that crater. So a very interesting small world that lives in the asteroid belt. Now we're going to back away now and look at the orbits of the planets and see exactly where the asteroid belt lies. So here we see the orbits of the inner planets, and we're going to move time forward to see their orbits. And those points in between Mars and Jupiter are the major asteroids within the asteroid belt. And as you can see, the closer a planet is to the Sun, the faster it orbits. Now we're going to go visit the Dawn spacecraft and see how it travels within the asteroid belt. So here we are at the Dawn spacecraft. It launched in 2007 and ended its mission in 2018. But this is how it orbited within the asteroid belt. And so you can see many of the asteroids whizzing by through its orbit. And from a distance, the asteroid belt looks pretty dense. In reality, there's a lot of space in between the asteroids. If you traveled through the asteroid belt in a spacecraft, you would be very unlikely to hit any of the asteroids in it. So that concludes our tour of the inner solar system. We're going to begin our tour of the gas giants next week. Everyone have a great week and clear skies.